Mr. Speaker.
Sir William Seo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We on this side of the House accept the Minister's explanation with regard to the bill, and so Labor supports this bill. The bill ensures that single superannuitants and veterans pensioners who are living alone do not have to make a separate application to receive their full entitlement. Labor supports this bill as it improves the lives of older New Zealanders by reducing the requirement to make an additional application to receive their full entitlement, and we agree with mainly the technical changes it proposes. The Select Committee had a chance to receive submissions and has recommended some changes in relation to people who become entitled under the existing law to the living alone allowance before this bill's date of commencement. There were only 2 submissions to this bill from the public. They were from the Dunedin Community Law Centre and the Grey Power New Zealand Federation Incorporated. There was no request to be heard by the committee, but these 2 submissions were considered. Both submitters gave general support to the bill, but both also expressed concerns with various clauses. The Dunedin Community Law Centre expressed that this change would provide some peace of mind for those who suddenly become single after the death of their partner. They, however, expressed concerns that new Section 4A, which provides that a person is living alone only if he or she occupies the principal place of residence of a specified kind and does not share that residence, subject to 2 exceptions with any person who is 18 years old or older. The first exception relates to the person's dependent child who is 18 years old, is not financially independent, and is attending a school or tertiary educational establishment. However, the first exemption applies only until the close of 31st of December in the year in which the child turned 18 years old. The second exception relates to a temporary visitor. The Dunedin Community Law Centre foresee problems with Section 4A for superannuitants and veterans pensioners where their dependent child is enrolled in tertiary education. They argue that children begin tertiary education when they are 17, 18 or 19 years. A standard bachelor degree takes 3 years, which means at the very least a child is enrolled to do a nursing degree, BCom, LMB, BA or Bachelor of Science, etc., may not be financially independent until they are at least 21 years of age. For other children, it would probably be older. Furthermore, they argued that today couples are having children at a later stage in their life, and we now find parents are still supporting their dependent children in tertiary education as they move into or are in their retirement years. For example, a woman who has a child at 40 or later years may be supporting that child when she turns 65 and her child is in their 20s. Similarly, if a man has a child when he is 50 years, then that child will be 15 years of age when the father becomes eligible for superannuation. The Dunedin Community Law Centre proposed that it may be more prudent to have 12 months clause rather than making this an exception only until the close of 31st of December in the year which the child turned 18 years old. The current clause means that a parent with a child born January is able to access the living alone payment for longer than a person who has a child who turns 18 in September. The Grey Power submission also shared concerns with the same clause. They submitted that some single parents may, without alternative income or savings, wish to support the child through the time that the child is receiving tertiary education. And there could well be some cases of undue hardship which may need special support. Sadly, the government did not accept the arguments by Grey Power and the Dunedin Community Law Centre and did not support these arguments preferred. The government is adamant that other support is available for adult children, and they say besides a child who turns 18 is an adult. Now here's where I have a problem. The government says that an 18-year-old will have access to their own source of income, either wages from a job, a benefit, a student allowance or student loan. And I'd have to say every single source of income that the government have identified for 18-year-olds is drying up. and they're drying up under this government's watch. And so I find the government's argument incredulous and out of touch with the reality New Zealanders are facing today, especially when we take in light John Key promised to create 170,000 jobs. They've failed. They failed, and instead we have 175,000 people without work. The Household Labour Force survey figures show that youth unemployment, ages 15 to 19, unemployment has gone up to 25.5%. Age 15 to 24, unemployment has gone to 17.3%. Overall, since National has been in office, unemployment amongst 15 to 24-year-olds has increased by 16,500 since December 2008. Youth not in education, employment, training, overall since National took office, the number of 15 to 24-year-old has increased by 18,000. So when the government says that 18-year-olds have their own source of income by earning income through a job, benefit, student allowance, student loan, I have to say that that's incredulous, and most parents would say that's not good enough. Why would any parent want their child to work at 18 years unless it's towards gaining a qualification? Why would we want our young people to work for 80% of the minimum wage? Why would we want as a country not to invest in our young people and ensure they have the best opportunities and are supported to gain a tertiary qualification? Labour also has concerns about the bill, and we will be putting up amendments at the committee stages. Our concern is that provisions in the bill relating to dependent children may not take into account the diverse range of situations superannuitants and pensioners may find themselves in when it comes to cohabiting with their children. Currently, a single superannuitant or veterans pensioner is eligible to receive the living alone payment only if he or she does not share that residence, the exception being where the other occupant is a dependent child. The bill will amend this exception to provide that a person who has a child living with them can only receive the new single living loan rate until the end of the calendar year in which that child reaches the age of 18. We are concerned that there will be cases where this distinction will have unintended and unfair consequences. For example, where a child is over the age of 18 but may have an intellectual disability and could still be classified as dependent, or when a child is temporarily unable to support themselves. Also, this policy is inconsistent with the student allowance policy, where a young person is still means tested against their parents' income until they are 24 years of age, thereby classifying them as a dependent New Zealand, as dependent. New Zealand Labour does not believe that these issues were adequately addressed in this bill. So for that reason, Mr. Chair, we will be looking to provide amendments in the committee stage. I want to take this opportunity just to wish everybody a very Merry Christmas. I know in the communities of Māngere throughout Manukau, this has been a really difficult year. And I sincerely mean difficult, because people have struggled to make ends meet with high unemployment, with the cost of living. They've just struggled. And I hate standing up, sir, in this House, supporting bills that this government puts through. But as a responsible opposition, we do support this particular bill. But in terms of the range of other bills that this government has put up throughout this year, sir, I want to say to them, they are hurting our communities. They are hurting our communities, and there's no light at the end of the tunnel for hard-working communities such as Māngere, especially when you have a national government in power. Merry Christmas.
Melissa Lee.
It is Christmas.